Hey everybody, welcome back to the Caliber 8 Tools and DIY channel, guys. Hope everybody's having a good, Tuesday. Yeah, where's my mind today? I don't know. Had a lot of things going on today. I'm kind of scrambled, but hope everybody's doing well. Um, Time is marching on, guys. Damn, this year's almost over with. What have we done? What have we accomplished? You know what I should start doing? I should start um, or we should start, I should say, keeping each other accountable in terms of the progress that we've made thus far, because time is just flying by. It's going to be 2026 in a minute. Next thing you know, it's going to be 2030. And where are you going to be, right? I always try to gauge my progress. And so anyway, in this live, guys, we're going to jump right into it. And we're going to focus on why it's important as a business, right? Not just as a business, but in life in general, right? Why you need to learn how to pivot, right? Because in business, for example, you're constantly trying to find ways to differentiate yourself from everybody else, right? So you can stand out, so people can, see things about your business that nobody else has. That's the whole goal, right? That's how you're going to survive. You got to be able to differentiate yourself, which means you got to be more creative in your thinking as far as your offerings and so forth. For example, when I first put this product out on the market, this picture hanging tool, by the way, guys, go check it out. If you really want to support the channel, go grab this picture hanging tool right here, the Exactac picture hanging tool, best picture hanging tool out there. So good that it got copied. And, if it's getting copied, then it's good, all right? Anyway, shameless plug. When I put that out there, it got copied, right? It got copied. Simple and plain. But guess what I did, right? I didn't just tuck my tail between my legs and say, oh man, that's it. No, they're dropping the price. They're selling knockoff versions, cheap versions. No, I didn't lower my price. I just found another way to get it in front of people, right? And that's just the way it is. It's a jungle out here in business, and you got to learn how to survive, right? And that's just how it is, right? Don't cry about it. Figure out ways where you can overcome any obstacles that may be against you. So I say that to bring attention to Ace Hardware. Now, when a lot of us think about, at least anybody in the home improvement game, whether you're a contractor, a DIYer, or just a tool enthusiast like myself, we think of the major guys, right? At least a lot of us do. Those are the ones that have the big budgets to get in front of us, right? To put the ads out there and, be on TV and all that stuff, right? The little guys, that don't have such a big budget, they have to be a little bit more creative in how they approach their business. And I got to give props to Ace Hardware for sticking in there, because they're still around. There's only a few, I would say, hardware retailers. You got Ace Hardware. I think you got True Value. You got Tractor Supply. You got companies like that that are not as popular as, say, a Home Depot or Lowe's. But I think that's a good thing, right? Because it forces you to create more create other business models that are not necessarily competing with the big guys, but you're kind of creating your own lane, and that's what Ace Hardware did. So I just want to dive into what Ace Hardware is up to and how they're, surviving out there in the harsh world of retail. Okay, so let's jump to this article that I came across. It says Home Depot Lowe's arrival reveals growth area the big brands can't match. And before we dive into the article, one thing about being a little guy, right, in the world of business is that you can maneuver quicker, faster than the big guys who already have established their business models, and they get somewhat comfortable, right? It's not that the big guys can't move and pivot, but it takes longer for them to, right? It's almost like if you're playing football, right? You got a linebacker and you got a wide receiver. The linebacker or defensive end or whatever is usually bigger than the wide receiver. Okay. But so the wide receiver can move much quicker than the big guy can. right? And if he moves fast enough, he will pass up, evade the bigger player, and get to the goal. Well, take that metaphor right there and apply it to any situation in life. Apply it. In this case, we're talking about business, and that's what Ace Hardware has done. It says, Ace Hardware has long been the underdog in the home improvement retail world, trailing Home Depot and Lowe's in terms of store size. There you go, that size again, and revenue. The retailers that dominate the U.S. home improvement and hardware market, according to the National Retail Federation, are number one, Home Depot. That's $148 billion in sales, and I'm rounding it off. Then comes Lowe's. That's about $81 billion in sales. Then you have Ace Hardware, only $26 billion in sales. And then underneath them, you have Tractor Supply, which is $14 billion in sales. Now we're talking about billions, okay? So these are not small numbers, but you do see the comparisons, right? And a lot of that has to do with branding and reach, okay? That's why Home Depot is at the top of the list. It's been around, I'm assuming it's been around longer than Ace or Tractor Supply, I'm sure. I don't know about Lowe's. Maybe it's been around the longest. So time definitely, factors into this, right? The time you had to build that brand, okay? Not to mention the offerings. The average Home Depot retail store is much bigger than Ace Hardware. Ace Hardware is like a house compared to a mansion, right? But yet, doesn't matter how small you are, if there's always a market for what you have, okay? And that's why I tell people, don't compare yourself out here. A lot of people say, well, that market's too saturated. Not necessarily. If you find a specific niche, and it doesn't even have to be products, because they sell basically the same products in terms of tools, right? More or less. But in terms of, convenience or the business model itself, you can structure that to stand out and be its own unique type of model that appeals to a specific market, right? And that's how you can survive out here, right? So Ace Hardware, let's see. It says, even though Ace's sales are a fraction of Home Depot's and Lowe's, and Ace is doing something its big box rivals are not doing, and that's showing up at your door. And I know some of you guys are saying, well, no, I can get a Home Depot person to come to my door. I can get a Lowe's person. They can come to my door as well. Yes, Home Depot and Lowe's, they do show up at your door as well in terms of delivery, right? They deliver stuff to you, and they may even install some appliances, but Ace Hardware is taking it a step further, right? And that's another thing about business, guys. You want to figure out what gaps are in the market. What are the big guys not doing that you can do as a smaller person or a smaller entity, a smaller business that is an actual need out there, right? Because they can't do everything. I don't care what big business is out there that is making millions of dollars. There's something that they're not doing that they can't do. For whatever reason, they're not doing it, right? And it's up to you to find out what that is and then capitalize on that. So what did Ace do? It says, through a program called Ace Handyman Services, the retailer offers in-home repairs, upgrades, and small renovation projects. And that's a major differentiator in a market dominated by DIY chains that stop short of doing the work. So it says Ace Hardware right here is actually providing a handyman services to you. All right. They're not using third-party contractors like Home Depot and Lowe's do. They're actually they have a separate division, handyman division, that goes out to your house, and these are employees of Ace Hardware that and they do whatever for you, right? Whether it's repair drywall or whatever. Okay. What else here? Let's see. Ace Hardware is a retailer owner cooperative, which means independent owners operate most locations similar to a franchise. And that's another thing the big box guys don't do. You don't have a Lowe's franchise. I can't go out there and say, okay, I want to buy a Lowe's store and run it myself as a franchise. You can't do that with Home Depot either. I happen to like that model because for people like myself that have products that I want to get into the stores, I don't necessarily have to go through corporate all the time. I can talk to the manager of that franchise down the street and say, hey, why don't you let's work out a deal where I give you this tool and we can work out some kind of consignment deal. You get a percentage of every sale. You can approach a franchise owner, right? You can approach a franchise owner much easier. That's what I like about it. That's coming from my perspective, right? And I guess you have more of that personal touch as well, right? It's not just all corporate. And that's another thing I like about Ace. And I kind of wonder, why did they pick that model? I'm sure it had to do with economics as well, right? But Ace seems to be on the forefront of implementing these creative strategies, right? The handyman service being the latest of them. All right, so it says the company has developed several proprietary digital systems, including a simplified scheduling tool that make it easy for customers to book services they need. Ace Handyman Services isn't just a referral program, it's a fully integrated company operated service division. That means the people showing up to patch drywall, install cabinets, or mount your TV are vetted, insured employees, not third-party contractors. Okay. So that also tells you something else about Ace. A lot of times when people use third-party contractors in any business, it's because that company doesn't want to pay for workers' comp. They don't want to pay for insurance, right? They just pay the third-party contractor, whatever fee that they're paying them to provide the service for their customers. So by Ace actually hiring people to be, to be handymen, to go out to their customers and insuring these handymen, right? I'm most likely giving them workers' comp and getting all the benefits that they would encourage just by working for them. That tells you a lot about Ace, that they actually, maybe they care about their employees. All right. Says the service is available in over 400 markets across the U.S., offering minor electrical and plumbing jobs, carpentry, drywall repair, painting, tile installation, even bathroom remodels or kitchen upgrades. Bathroom remodels are not an overnight thing. That could take a while. So they're actually offering these services. Kitchen upgrades. Yeah. All right. These are precisely the kinds of projects most homeowners don't want to or can't tackle themselves. So yeah, Ace is, they're betting the farm on this. I think it'll probably be a good move for them, because these are services that we all need as homeowners, and by them providing this, they're just pretty much filling a gap, right? Home Depots and Lowe's, they're not doing that. They're not installing kitchen cabinets, and they're not doing drywall repairs and none of that stuff. So it says, we are a big company, but it's David versus Goliath compared to Home Depot and Lowe's, said Kevin Casey, lawn and garden merchant and Ace Yard RX developer, in an exclusive interview with this website here, The Street. That's who I'm reading this article from, thestreet.com, just to give them some credit. Ace is able to provide a personalized experience because our owners are embedded in their communities. Okay, I get it, right? That's nice marketing speak for saying we are you, the customer. We're not just some corporate millionaire living, in some fancy neighborhood. We live with you, so we know what you need. Okay, that's a good marketing move right there, to talk like that. I'm not mad at it. Okay, so it says Ace Hardware fills a gap in the big box experience. Ace Hardware's major competitors offer some installation contractor services, but they have not built out a nationwide, fully branded handyman division. Instead, they rely on third-party contractors and partnerships, which often leave the customer to navigate reviews, scheduling, and pricing with little support from the retailer. So Ace is betting on, what you can never lose with if you do it right, and that's customer service. Okay. So if you're an Ace customer, or if you patronize Ace, you already trust the brand somewhat, right? So why not trust their handyman if they've been vetted? And hey, this is a good opportunity for you handymen out there, right? If you're looking for work and it's hard to find work, well, if you get hooked up with Ace, you already have an influx of work there, right? And they just dispatch you to the job, right? That's if you're willing to do that, at least to get started. And I would think that it'd probably be a good training ground for being a handyman, right? Ace is betting on a branded integrated strategy that is tied directly to the company's reputation for customer service. Homeowners can browse services and book appointments through Ace's website with transparent pricing and follow-up included. It's all about customer service at the end of the day, guys. I don't care what business you're in, okay? You can mess up an order, but if you know how to apply the right customer service protocol, right? People forget real quick if you take care of them, right? If you mess something up, you replace it free. Things like that, right? Keep getting these texts. All right, says the focus on full service home improvement gives Ace an edge. Notice it says full service home improvement, right? That means it's not just selling you tools, it's selling you the service, everything, all the way around, 100%. Says, okay, the focus is on full service home improvement, and Ace has an edge as more consumers shift from do it yourself to do it for me. That's interesting when I read this. It says consumers are shifting more from do it yourself to do it for me. And that's a growing trend driven by aging homeowners, busy professionals, and people simply looking to save time. That would be something I would have to research more about the demographic shifts in when it comes to DIY versus do it for me. Maybe I'll cover that on the next slide. It says the company has been rapidly expanding its Ace Handyman Services sector, aiming to deepen relationships with existing customers while also reaching new homeowners who might otherwise default to bigger chains. Yeah, so at the end of the day, guys, Ace is doing whatever it has to do to keep that market share that it has already and grow that market share, right? Otherwise, someone else is going to take it. So as a business, right, whatever it is, you got to constantly be thinking of different creative ways to stand out, to grab your own market share, or at least a bigger piece of the pie of the market share there is. And that's I think that's the fun side of a business, right? Is figuring out, no matter how long it takes, no matter how hard it may seem, figuring out how can you stand out? What gaps can you fill, right? Because it's going to be filled. If there's a vacuum out there, it's going to be filled eventually. And if you can do that, you'll be in the game. The thing about it is you got to keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep doing it. You can't rest on your laurels and get comfortable out here. Definitely can't. Okay, let's see. Where was I? So yeah, I applaud Ace for doing this. I applaud Ace for having the forward thinking and even from the franchise model to this right here. It tells you that Ace has some pretty savvy people at its helm. It's marketing people, or it's whoever has a vision for the company. You might want to buy some stock in Ace, man. It's not an accident that they're still around. Let's see. Ace's co-op business model makes this kind of local service offering easier to scale. The structure allows Ace to respond to local market demand faster than its larger competitors and to deliver a more personalized customer experience. Exactly. It seems to be working for the company. Ace opened 45 new domestic stores in the first quarter of 2025, an increase of 112 stores from the first quarter of 2024. At the end of the first quarter of 2025, the company's total U.S. store count was 5,177 stores. So yeah, obviously it's working for them, right? If you're opening stores, you're not just doing that just to do it. You're doing that because you're growing your revenue and you want to expand. Okay. So guys, let's just take a tip from Ace Hardware and just, whatever business you're in, think about new innovative ways you can approach the market. Okay. There's always a gap somewhere, right? And test, and see where it gets you. And just don't give up out there. Okay, guys. So if you learned something from this, I appreciate you. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to go to calibrate.com if you want to support. I don't even know why I don't have my banner up here, but it's calibrate.com, guys. The link will be in the description. And appreciate you guys coming on here. See you in the next one. Have a good one.